Hello and welcome to another episode of Learning to Trade. Let's jump straight into it. BTC USD. I don't know whether I mentioned this on the previous video, but I did take profit for the short that I was in previously. So this one here, I took profit at around about just below my original target. I actually set, before I went to bed, I set it a bit lower because we were looking at some quite sort of continuing downtrend, and I actually bought my stop loss really tight, and my intention was for that to actually close out overnight. So whether it whips back up and wicks into the stop loss, or whether it actually comes down further and hits past my original target, that was something that I would have been happy with. My intention was to get some sleep, not worry about managing my trade at 4 o'clock in the morning, waking up in a cold sweat, because I'm quite happy with the with how it played out. So that can be deleted. That's over and done with. We can now move on to the next setup. If you look back on the previous video, I indicated where I thought it might go. And this is just a sort of rough placement of just something that I brushed out, and I thought, well, we're probably going to bounce off of previous support here. And it looks like it kind of played out how I expected, but again, at this stage, very early on in what I've been learning, that could just be complete coincidence or a little bit of luck. So again, we can say that this played out as I expected, and it's no longer required. This line here, which I consider to be, after it bounced, I considered this to be the just roughly where the previous resistance was. You jumping down? One of the things I'm looking at this stage is for us to break out of this resistance here and effectively close cleanly above this line. Currently we are seeing it pierce through. It's been rejected, pushed back down, but the strength of the buy volume here, to me, I feel like this could potentially continue. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to draw this out and see how it happens. So I'm expecting either a rounded retest, and then let me just draw that like that, and I see if I can move that into the, and then looking at perhaps something in that direction. So effectively we're going to close cleanly above this point of previous resistance, which should hopefully become support, and potentially bounce up for a small long around about this level here. Feels to me to be the next area of resistance, which was previously support. So last night, if I'd have seen this, I would have potentially taken a very, very small long, like I'm talking maybe a couple of quid, just to sharpen my skills in expecting a bounce. That's easy for me to say now, as that's how it played out as I expected, but as you could see in the previous video, I did draw that out and actually considered that to be the next play, the next move, but it doesn't matter. The point is now that there's always another trade to potentially take. I'm going to see how this plays out. and this is where I expect to take my long. In fact, what I've actually done, I'll probably show you in the next video, but I have actually taken a small long at this position already. Just before I started recording the video, only a very small one, just to practice and I want to kind of validate that my idea is going to play out as I expect. And if I lose it, so be it. It's, pennies. But like I say, I don't trade paper money. I always look to have an emotional connection to what I'm doing, so that when I start learning other markets or ramping up the the intensity of using bigger money, at least I have some sort of experience in trying to control my emotion and get used to dealing with the fear of loss, which I'm trying to sort of let go of and just look at it as a learning experience. So let's see how this is going to play out over the next day, maybe the next few days. Like I say, what I'm hoping for is a clean close above here, maybe potentially looking on the 4 hour. If we can hold above here and the momentum continues upwards, I think that would give me a lot more confidence in the move going the direction that I expect. Also looking at the EMA cross, which I've recently spoken to a friend of mine who trades Forex, and said to me, EMA cross doesn't work, sorry, but what you should be doing is looking at the 50 EMA. Interestingly, on this one that I talked about in the previous video, which was the video before that, I think, was this filler cone for EMA. 55 was the largest yellow, slowest moving EMA on here. So we have closed above, and what I'm hoping is that I'm going to continue paying attention to this EMA cross because I do actually quite like it. I will be listening more to his experience because he's been doing it longer than me in Forex. But it's just something that I wanted to pay attention to until the honeymoon period wears off. Let's have a look now on ETHBTC. This is something that I was very interested in yesterday. If you have a look, actually change it to Heikin-Ashi candles. I was very, very close to putting a buy in around about here. Just around this kind of area, I was thinking, yep, I'm going to go for a buy. But one of the things that I noticed, if you just change back to the standard candles, is that we couldn't quite close. That's interesting actually, because yesterday that looked like it was really struggling to close above the 55 EMA, although it's looking like now it is. So I guess at the time the point is I didn't take the trade because it just wasn't looking strong enough to close above the 55 EMA. Also, we didn't have a cross, so there was no, because I believe this blue line is where you would consider to have your entry. When those cross, then it would be a suitable time to take the trade. It didn't look like that was going to happen. Fortunately, I held off, and it looks like we're going to, potentially if BTC is going to go up, I think it's all relative to the currency pairs. So if BTC increases in value against ETH, it's going to, let's just call it Ethereum for what it is, potentially we're going to be hovering around here again for a while, and we may even see this drop back down into this zone that is previously to me, this is an area of interest, because if we come back down into here again and then we start going up, I'm definitely going to look for a sort of bit more of a longer swing. If you have a look on the Heikin Ashi, one of the reasons why I was very interested in taking along here is because the trend clearly starts to turn green. But there's just too much uncertainty for me, and my skills are not sharp enough. I have way too little experience to know what to do in this situation, and I haven't been studying these two pairs for long enough. So, but it's just something that I'm keeping an eye on. I've just flagged it green there just to remind me to keep an eye on that as it goes ahead. So we've talked about taking profit. The direction, yeah, was what I wanted. That was just, I think, more luck than judgment. Next, I think I've already talked about actually the confirming a breakout cleanly above the, let's take it off of Heikin Ashi. We want a clean break above here, which looks like it may be happening. Maybe, I don't know, let's see. Excuse me for having a sip of coffee at the time. We're going to wait and see how that plays out. If it dips below, I may potentially place a safety order, because I still do expect the momentum to carry on upwards. If these four EMAs cross and support the price on the way up, then I'm going to be even further confident that we're going to continue in an upwards direction. We talked about the rounded retest that's potentially going to happen, and yeah, the small long as well that I've already taken. So that's everything for now. We're going to see how we play out. I'm just going to quickly take a look at the Heikin Ashi. Yeah, so you can see here that the trend did in fact start to turn green, which is a good indicator of the direction that it should continue. Obviously, we are looking at an area here of previous resistance, which is why I'm so keen to see this break and hold above that line. So let's just see how that plays out. Very deep and I suppose, what would you call it, irresponsible stop loss that I may actually jump back onto BitMEX and raise that slightly to around about here. It's just one of those things in crypto that I've noticed is you get something like this happen and you just stopped out for no good reason. It's not part of the trend. It's just, I don't know what people are doing, whether they're just looking to hit other people's stops or those with deeper pockets, a lot smarter than the majority of us, seem to have some sort of plan and utilize that to their advantage. Might be something I start researching and looking into when I've learned a bit more. But currently at this stage, I'm looking to expect maybe some sort of it's going to jump around a bit because we've just had this volatility. If you look at it, it's quite a sharp move down. We've had another sharp move down here, and then we're going straight back up again. So it's not like we're just going to continue. Well, anything could happen really, but I just can't really see this continuing straight up. We've got to have some sort of bouncing around in here, and we're probably going to have a similar situation to this where we will range for a bit and then potentially move further up. If you compare it to previous situations that we've had, you've got this sharp decline down here, and then a move up, and then back down again. You could look at this and say, well, maybe these two areas look very similar. What have we got? Maybe these two areas do look quite similar in what they're doing, and then lo and behold, you've got this sharp upwards that could potentially continue, which is what I'm looking for. with any luck, that's what's going to happen. So we'll continue watching this, see how it plays out. For those of you that might be in a similar sort of trade, I do hope it goes in the right direction for you and plays out in your favor. Didn't comment on the weather, did I? That's because it's a bit gloomy today. Hey ho. Hopefully it doesn't affect our mood too much. We're being stuck indoors. Well, if we can't go out anyway and spend too long outside, then it's not really the end of the world, is it? So we can just take the time, study up, learn new skills, you know, keep pushing forwards. I know very uncertain time at the minute, but hopefully you're all doing well and you're all keeping safe and healthy. And like I say, if you're trading today and you're doing, you know, the same sort of setup as I am, like I hope it all goes well for you, and we'll catch up again in the next video. All right.